If China conquers Taiwan, it will be a bloody genocide. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. So the Chinese Communist Party keeps telling everyone that Taiwan is an inseparable part of China. Considering they have their own government, sounds like Taiwan is a super separable part of China. The CCP also says that it will not rule out using force to conquer the self-ruled island if it does not submit to Beijing. On the Taiwanese side, people are not exactly dreaming of becoming a part of China. A survey released in February shows that less than 8% of the Taiwanese want Taiwan to unify with China. And there's a 92% chance those 8% who told the survey they wanted to unify with China were just Xi Jinping wearing a fake mustache. The numbers are not surprising when considering the end result of Chinese involvement for next-door neighbor Hong Kong. Since then, Chinese crackdowns have damaged Hong Kong's economy, and a Beijing-imposed national security law has spread fear and uncertainty. Fear and economic ruin sounds awesome. Who wouldn't want China to be in charge? But according to some activists and observers, Taiwan's fate within a unified China would be much, much worse than Hong Kong's, because it would end up like Xinjiang. Xinjiang is a region in western China, inhabited primarily by Muslim ethnic groups, with the largest of these groups being the Turkic-speaking Uyghurs, who, according to the CCP, are perfectly safe. Hey, look over here! Yeah, no, the Chinese government has come down hard on these local groups in recent years. As many as 1 million Muslims have been detained in re-education camps and prisons across the region. The CCP responds to these accusations by saying, locals have been instructed not to use their native Turkic languages, and cultural and religious sites like mosques have been destroyed by the thousands. And after the CCP went through so many of those Falun Gong organs, Uyghurs have now taken their place as China's voluntary organ donation bank. And the most shocking part about all of this is, why wouldn't Taiwan want to let Beijing take over? They seem like such nice fellas. Obviously, Chinese officials have defended the authorities' measures, saying that actions had to be taken to counter terrorism and extremism. Because it would be terrible if an evil organization terrorized and committed violence against the citizens of China, wouldn't it? They've also said that there are no human rights abuses to speak of in Xinjiang, and that re-education camps are actually vocational training centers. Yes, of course. They're just putting people in schools with totally regular school stuff like fences, barbed wire, and watchtowers. What's the vacation? Prison? Much of the outside world is understandably not buying the Chinese official narrative. The US and several other countries have called it genocide. So it's far from comforting when experts in Taiwan are saying if China takes over, Taiwan will be the next Xinjiang. But get this. It's not just people in Taiwan sounding the alarm. CCP officials admit they'll do to Taiwan what they did to Xinjiang. In 2022, the Chinese ambassador to France, Liu Xiaoye, said in an interview on French TV that there is a possibility of a Chinese military invasion of Taiwan, and that after reunification we will do re-education to ensure the Taiwanese people recover their sense of patriotism. I'm assuming that re-education will also happen in totally mainstream vocational schools like these. So their plan is reunification, re-education, and recovery. That's ridiculous. When asked to comment on his colleagues' remarks, the Chinese ambassador to Australia, Xiao Qian, had this to say.
And the people in Taiwan are under a regional regime for many decades. It is reasonable for us to understand that their perspective about China, their perspective about their motherland might take somewhat different views.
I like the way he remembered himself halfway through and added their motherland just in time not to earn the CCP's wrath. In Taiwan, under a regional regime, this would be like the UK saying America is just under a temporary regional regime. They'll come crawling back any day now. Reacting to these statements from the two ambassadors, Uyghur activist Rushan Abbas spoke on Taiwanese TV saying that what the Chinese government is doing to Uyghurs, they are also planning to do to the Taiwanese if Taiwan loses its independence. In January, columnist at Taiwan News, Courtney Donovan Smith, said that Taiwanese are too freedom-loving and have a large enough territory to carry out resistance and could not be controlled without extreme measures. Freedom-loving? Refuse to be controlled, using their knowledge of expansive terrain to win a war? No wonder Americans really connect with Taiwan. So what extreme measures within a Xinjiang model would Taiwan be looking at in the event of a Chinese annexation of Taiwan? While we currently don't know for sure, since the Chinese government doesn't exactly post such plans on its TikTok, looking at Chinese measures in Xinjiang can give us a sense of what re-educating Taiwan and the Taiwanese would look like. Right after a Chinese annexation, Taiwan would lose overt symbols of sovereignty, such as its national anthem and its military, since organized and armed Taiwanese soldiers would be able to oppose a Chinese occupation. But don't worry, they can totally keep as many copies of Xi Jinping thought as they want. Don't say China never gave you anything. Furthermore, Taiwan is a melting pot of different peoples that speak all these different languages and dialects, just like Xinjiang. And just as in Xinjiang, Chinese authorities would place bans and restrictions on the usage of these languages, particularly in public spaces. Public spaces would also be stripped of references and symbols regarding Taiwan's modern history. The Chinese Communist Party has never ruled Taiwan, despite what they claim. So there are no landmarks to commemorate the great moments in China's communist history, like this. Instead, Taiwanese modern history has been dominated by 3 periods, and the CCP despises all of them. In the first half of the 20th century, Taiwan was part of the Japanese Empire. Now, the Chinese fought a bloody war against the Japanese during World War II, and a cornerstone of CCP propaganda is playing off anti-Japanese sentiment. After the defeat of the Japanese in World War II, the Chinese Nationalist Party took control over Taiwan and imposed a one-party authoritarian rule that lasted throughout the Cold War. And this is when China ruled over Taiwan? Still no, the Nationalist Party was the CCP's sworn enemy during the Chinese Civil War, when they fought each other over control of China. After the Nationalists retreated to Taiwan, the two parties continued to be bitter enemies for decades. The oppressive rule of the Nationalists ended with the democratization of Taiwan in the 1980s and 90s. And this is when China ruled over Taiwan, right? Nope. Democratization has brought to power the Democratic Progressive Party, the DPP, who the CCP hates for opposing unification with China. CCP officials have even called DPP members liars, criminal masterminds, and war instigators. So just like cultural and historic structures such as mosques have been torn down by the thousands in Xinjiang, we can assume that relics from the Japanese colonial era in Taiwan, monuments from the rule of the Nationalist Party, and memorials commemorating Taiwanese people's struggle for freedom and democracy would eventually have to come crashing down in the CCP's Taiwan and replaced with statues of their glorious, honey-loving new leader. On top of that, just as the Chinese authorities have sent Uyghur intellectuals and religious people to re-education camps for as little as praying or having a beard, the Taiwanese people that have been a part of the Beijing-hated DPP or have any sort of affiliation with the DPP would probably have to undergo re-education as well. If that also includes anyone that has ever voted for the DPP in an election, then millions of Taiwanese people would eventually have their first school day at a vocational training center where the vacation is still prison. So let's hope the Xinjiang model remains theoretical for Taiwan, and that 8% never gets what it wants. China Uncensored relies on support from fans like you on the crowdfunding website Patreon. Visit patreon.com/China Uncensored. All it takes is $1 an episode. I make about 16 episodes a month, but if that's too much for you, you can set a monthly limit. So you can ensure I can keep uncensoring China for even $1 a month. And as a thank you to everyone who gives on Patreon, I'll answer one of your questions or comments at the end of these episodes. Today's comes from Mark Woods. While the Dems and pubs continue to bicker, the country is in real danger. Wake up, DC. Oh boy, Mark, you hit the nail on the head with that one. So Mark is responding to this recent episode I did about a congressional hearing that was supposed to be about countering Chinese political warfare in the US, but devolved into petty partisan bickering because apparently Congress is full of children. Very old children. I'll leave a link below because it's a very important episode and YouTube didn't notify most of you about it. But here's the problem. It's easy for Congress to get caught up in their own stupid problems because the threat from the CCP seems a world away. It's not, it's on America's doorstep, but I hope this episode has shown you that for the people of Taiwan, the threat is very real and very present. China continues to harass Taiwan just about every day. Their lives really are on the line. This isn't a game to Taiwan. So Congress needs to shape up and actually do something about the CCP, or else history will just keep repeating itself. Thanks for your comment and your support, Mark. Thank you for watching. On a much lighter note, I also have a new channel devoted to news, politics, and philosophy. Check out the latest about what the bottle cap currency of the Fallout series can teach us about the US dollar. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.